How's it, punters? Welcome back to the Best Sports Betting Podcast. Cracker of a weekend of sports, Simon. We had lots of Premier League. The opening weekend of the Premier League, we had South Africa taking on New Zealand. Those were the weekend highlights. I think we will, Simon, I think we'll start off with the rugby.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it was certainly a convincing win for the Springboks. Actually, I was looking a bit earlier, and I see that we actually haven't beat New Zealand by a margin of 16 points since 1928. So it was quite a significant victory. Funny enough, my brother actually asked me to place a bet for him for the Springboks to win by 20 or more. So basically on the minus 19 and a half handicap. And I thought that was pretty bold, but for most of the match, it actually looked like quite a possibility.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch too much of the match. I was too caught up in Premier League, and then I think I kind of forgot about it. I had to catch the highlights the next day. But dominant win there, and New Zealand have now lost 5 of their last 6 Test matches.
Yeah, it's quite something, sure. I mean, they did look a little bit lost, I must say. I wasn't expecting them to, after that we dominated them in the first 10, 15 minutes, and I thought they would turn it around, but they seemed to struggle. I mean, we led from the 8th minute right until the end of the game, and we dominated where we normally do, in the mauls and set pieces, which are kind of like become our bread and butter. But yeah, one negative for the Springboks in that match was Beauden Barrett getting completely taken out in the air by Kurtley Arendse, who actually only just made his debut against Wales. He played really, really well. But yeah, really, really sloppy tackle. I mean, definitely deserved the red card, and he's actually going to be suspended for 4 matches. So he's going to miss quite a few games in the championship, which is a
Bit
big
of a
pity.
bummer,
It is.
but rules are rules, eh?
Yeah, no, it was an absolutely warranted. I think that it was a very, very dangerous tackle. So I think that had to be penalised the way it was.
And then we're taking on New Zealand again in a
Hmm.
couple of days. We'll be chatting about that in a bit. But anyway, big win for the Springboks. A huge win for them. New Zealand just in so much trouble at the moment. They need to get rid of their coach. They need to do a major overhaul with the World Cup coming around. And I was surprised that we managed to beat them so handily. I wasn't sure. I thought it might have been a bit of a blip from New Zealand the last couple of games, but their poor form has continued. So I'm just going to be looking at fading them going forward. Then Simon, Premier League, and we started off with a cracker. Both of our bets came in over the weekend on the Premier League.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. Yeah, I like Chelsea to get the win at Everton, which came in. Also liked Brentford on the double chance against Leicester, which also landed. But that's a pity. I got a bit greedy and made a big acca, which included Palace double chance, which blew me up. But you know what? Actually, having watched that game, I think Palace actually outperformed their odds. But anyway, yeah, looking at the results as a whole, obviously we started off with that 2-0 win for the Gunners over Palace, and then Liverpool and United were the two teams that would have no doubt busted a few multis there.
I didn't back United. I was like, let me stick. I had Liverpool in my multi.
Yeah, look, I mean, they controlled the game against Fulham as you'd expect them to. I mean, they dictated the pace, possession, everything, but they couldn't kind of stop Fulham from sort of coming back at them.
Yes, that was the big problem that they had. That's where the game came apart for them.
Yeah, I mean, Nunes and Salah both got on the score sheet, but it wasn't enough to take him all 3 points. And I mean, I suppose on any other given day, you just think Liverpool score two. They're more than likely going to, especially against a recently promoted side, that they're going to walk away with all 3 points, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, Mitrovic was on fire. They were just counter-attacking. It was a great game to
Mm,
watch, but I think Liverpool probably should have won that one. But I think it's a fair result for Fulham
yeah.
as well. Not too much else. Newcastle picking up a good 2-0 win. Looking
Yeah,
solid
they
there.
did. They did. I think one surprising result we haven't touched on yet, though, was obviously United's
Brighton.
loss against Brighton. Yeah, which I mean, obviously got the worst possible start you can imagine. And
Yeah.
it actually took an own goal from Brighton to even register United on the score sheet. So, after a promising preseason, it's I suppose United fans will kind of be fearing the worst. Look, I don't expect their fortunes to turn around overnight. But at the same time, obviously, a loss like that doesn't do a lot for your confidence, does it?
No, no, but they'll stick with Ten Hag obviously
Yeah,
for some
sure.
time, and I do see them improving. But I think we spoke about this last week. They're just not the team that they've been in the last few years. Not
Absolutely.
looking at backing them, not looking at backing them for even a top 6 spot maybe or something.
Mm.
Then you had Chelsea beating Everton. I know you fancied Chelsea there. Pretty good odds on them to win as well.
Yeah, that was my bet of the week. I think they look good value for their win there. I'm very very interested to see the game coming up, which I'm sure we'll talk about just now
Spurs game.
against Spurs, because I think that's going to be a fantastic London derby actually.
And then United obviously going down to Brighton. We've just touched on that. Leicester Brentford on Sunday 2-2. And the last one was City comfortably kind of going past West Ham with Haaland scoring 2 goals in his debut.
Yeah, yeah, it looked much better than he did against Liverpool.
Yeah, but he looked alright against Liverpool. Couple of bad touches and stuff like that. First match.
Bit of nerves probably.
But yeah, bit of nerves. That kind of thing. Still figuring the system out, and I think he's going to be a big player for City this season. And I wish I had him in my fantasy Premier League team.
I'm sure he cost the bomb.
He does. He cost the same at Kane at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
And I thought, hey, let me have Kane in for game week 1, and then let me swap Holland out, swap Kane out for Holland in game week 2. And unfortunately, Kane's price has gone down because he didn't score, and Holland's price has gone up. So I'm not going to be able to do that swap anymore. But it's all right. The rest of the team is still looking pretty solid.
Yeah, sure.
Right then, let's have a look at some of the upcoming sports. Let's start off with rugby, I think, and then we'll jump over to Premier League. We've got South Africa, New Zealand, Simon.
Yeah, so I mean, the bookies have adjusted their expectations of New Zealand, which is fair, and they've moved that line by 3.5 points. So obviously we won 26-10, so 16-point win in Nelspruit, and we came in as 2-point favorites last week, and now the handicaps moved to 5.5. And before I carry on, Rob, I have a feeling that you're going to be all over the All Blacks with that spread. I don't, as I said, I think it's a fair adjustment. But I know you were talking about an expected 1-1 series draw there.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's out the window now.
Yeah. Look, I think for me personally, I think that's a fair enough adjustment. I think it's unlikely we're going to run away with the game like we did last week. But
Yeah.
I would want about 7.5 on the handicap if I was going to back the All Blacks, and you're just not going to get that.
Yeah, I think that 5.5 is maybe a little bit high, but it's pretty fair. I don't want to back South Africa on the negative handicap, not against New Zealand. I see there's a 3.5 floating around there at about 1.65. It's tempting, but I think on this one, if I was going to take a bet, South Africa should win this one quite easily. But if I would take a bet, I'd love to back New Zealand at that price there.
Well, that's the thing. It's one of those things where you feel it's one of those situations where in hindsight, if the All Blacks win, it'll feel like the most obvious move to have backed them.
But
at
looking at the eye test and the recent results, you just can't back them.
Well, exactly. That's it. You're not seeing enough for them on the field to back up placing that kind of bet. So, yeah, look, I mean, I can't say anybody would be surprised if the All Blacks win necessarily, but at the same time, it's just, it's a tricky one because I think that South Africa really did look like the better side on the weekend.
And New Zealand have to come right at some time, but I'm just not sure that this is going to be the series it's going to be. That they do, because they're just looking pretty dire at the moment.
Yeah. So in summary, I think it's a no bet for me. It's a really tricky one. I don't know. As I said, I would love to get like 7.5 points on New Zealand, but that's unrealistic. The handicaps, if anything's probably going to move closer towards New Zealand. So, I'm not taking plus 5.5, and I don't feel comfortable like you backing South Africa on the minus there either.
Yeah, like the 1.45 on South Africa is not terrible for some accas and stuff like that. But I mean, if I was placing a big bet, even that price is just not good enough. But South Africa should win this one. I think they win it between 5 and 7. I think that's.
Yes, funny enough, I was just thinking yesterday about this match, and I was expecting 5, so it pretty much landed exactly where it did on the handicap. But I think maybe a winning margin bet of South Africa, expecting them not to run away like they did last week, and taking to win between 1 and 5 points at probably quite nice odds, might be a good way to go about this one.
South Africa 1 to 7, 3.6.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's actually a bit bigger than I thought.
I'll take that then. I think that's a good bet. I mean, look, if we beat them by 7.5 points, then I'll be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those odds are just too good. 3.6 on South Africa 1-7. So you're saying that it's just gonna like beat the handicap or not?
Mm,
Um,
exactly.
Obviously, if South Africa lose, that bet loses as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good one. I think I might get involved in that one.
Yeah.
So let me just slap in South Africa straight up as Akabet. Right, Simon, let's jump over to some Premier League,
Sure.
and let me bring it up here quickly. So some nice fixtures for the bigger sides. We've got Arsenal taking on Leicester. We've got City taking on Bournemouth. That should be an absolute snot clap match. Brentford taking on United could be interesting, that one. And then the big ones, obviously Chelsea versus Spurs, and Chelsea playing at home. Then we have Liverpool taking on Crystal Palace on the 15th. So I fancy Arsenal 1.49 straight out of the gates against Leicester. I think Arsenal looking very good. I'm going to stay on the Arsenal train as long as it's full steam ahead, and they're scoring goals. Once they stop scoring goals, I'll probably jump off. And I think that's probably my bet of the week. I don't have anything else. I don't have anything for United. I'd rather back Brentford, to be honest. Brentford double chance there.
Yeah, look, it's obviously early in the season. We don't know much about the teams yet, but I must say I find it quite tricky to pick out any solid bets. The only price that jumped out to me a little bit was actually Wolves, which I think are being a little bit undervalued there against Fulham. Of
Yes.
course, Fulham, fine, they had a good showing against Liverpool with a 2-2 draw, but
They were
I
playing
think
at Craven Cottage. It's
exactly. They're a big home side. So to be honest, I think this is a case of the bookies preempting some money coming from punters on Fulham and making their odds slightly short there. So I like Wolves draw no bet, and that's at about 1.7. I think is a smidgen of value there, but it's a tricky week. I must say it's a combination of not being too sure where the teams stand, and also the prices just kind of being sort of where I expect them. But yeah, I mean the headlining match is no doubt the London derby between Chelsea and Spurs, which is at Stamford Bridge, and I must say I'm not surprised by the respect that Spurs are being given by the bookies. I mean, let's be honest. If this match had happened about halfway through last season, Chelsea would be closer to evens, or even potentially even odds on to win this match. If this was happening 6 months ago, 5 months ago, and they're currently 2.25. So I think the bookies are definitely giving Spurs the respect that they deserve. But yeah, I mean, it's still, again, a tricky one because I think it's where it should be. I fancy Spurs as a team in better nick at this stage, but I think it's reflected in the odds. So my best bet here would actually be a draw at 3.4.
I'm thinking draw Spurs. That's what
Okay.
my
Yeah.
gut says.
Yeah.
1.63, not the best odds, and you're just looking at a draw here.
Yeah, I think just a draw here because as I said, I think that the bookies have adjusted for Spurs, and so I'm not really seeing value on them as I would have liked to. If Chelsea opened here at like 2.1 or even something, I'd be all over Spurs. But I think that they've adjusted the price right there. So I think the home advantage for Chelsea will be just enough to kind of keep Spurs at bay.
Yeah.
And then I don't think obviously either team will be that disappointed to come away with a point.
Yeah, I'm not
So
sure about this Chelsea side. I know enough about the Spurs side. I think it's a solid side. I think it's a top four side. I think Chelsea's Chelsea's also a top four side, but they're in a bit of a mess at the moment since the end of last season. They aren't the Chelsea that we know.
yeah,
So I,
yeah,
I like Spurs to get a result, just that double chance.
yeah.
Draw no bet if you want, but I really do think the draw's going to be the most likely outcome.
Yeah, look, 3.4 is kind of dead standard odds for a draw, so it's not like you're getting value in that draw. But I just think almost if I look at all the matches this weekend, it probably seems the most likely to end in a draw. So
Yeah,
I like that. I'm not saying that that's the most tempting odds, but I prefer to back the draw there just because I think Chelsea can keep it, obviously keep it tidy at home. But Spurs definitely look in good nick.
yeah. Draw an under 2.5, 4.3, a little bit tempting there,
Mm.
but you need a lot to go over your way for that one. But yeah, okay. So you're going with the draw there. I think that's pretty much the week 2 fixtures wrapped up. There's that Liverpool versus Crystal Palace game. I expect Liverpool to come out firing on all cylinders and make up for that
Yeah.
mess that they made at Fulham. 1.22 is not too bad. I'll slap that in my accumulator as well. So we've got a little bit of a podcast accumulator going. We've got South Africa to beat New Zealand. We've got Arsenal to beat Leicester, Liverpool to beat Crystal Palace, Wolves double chance against Fulham, and I've taken the double chance there because you can't cash out if it's a draw no bet. And then the Spurs to win or draw against Chelsea, and that's 5.89. So
Nice,
with a
I like
boost,
that.
it's with a little bit of a boost, it's 6.5 basically.
Nice.
Yeah, R1's going to return you R6.48. So I'll stick that up there. I'll put that through. You guys can see the booking code on screen as well. I'll pop that into the description of the video if you guys want to follow that bit. But yeah, Simon, I think that's pretty much a wrap for week 2.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, looking forward to it. As I said, it's it's always in the beginning of the football season, especially. You kind of just don't really quite know what to expect from the team. So it's sort of one surprise to the next from one week into the next. So it's I'm excited to see what week 2 has in store for us.
Is there any particular team that's kind of caught your eye so far that you're like, hey?
Not really that's changed from the end of last season. I think
Okay.
Spurs were on a very good trajectory. I think that they, so far obviously continuing that, but I wouldn't say so necessarily. But nothing that's changed since the end of last season.
Okay, still early days. Still going to be
Yeah,
Liverpool and City with
yeah,
City
I think
crossing
so.
the line first. Right, guys, that's it for this week's episode. We will be doing a 20,000 subscriber giveaway in the next, I want to say the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'll be posting some videos up for how to enter that. There isn't too much else going on in the world of sports at the moment, but we'll have a more action-packed podcast next week. Hope you tune in then, and I'll catch you then. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.